The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit.
Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and Buster grandma. It is grand salami time.
Polanco sends it in the right and will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Welcome back to the Light the W podcast. Mahal Domingo Anderson joined by Eli Herst, Vanderbilt commit class of 2026. I think that's the year it is. Eli is a stud starting pitcher.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. First and foremost, how are you doing, Eli?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing well, dude. Baseball's in full swing. How can I complain?
Yeah, exactly.
You're in the midst of another solid season, pretty good season to say the least. How's the school spring season been for you?
Dude, it's been good. I mean, so far we've been winning a lot of games and we're moving into playoffs. So just really excited for that and just trying to keep, our foot on the gas and keep winning ball games and just, taking it one day at a time. But so far, my senior season has been nothing but fun. It's been a really great experience.
Yeah, you mentioned being a senior. Of course, sort of a weird high school baseball experience, having your first 2 years at Garfield and then sort of on your own accord, helping to create the program over at Seattle Academy. What has the leadership sort of been like for you since the program at SAS has been created, and specifically this year?
Yeah, SAS, like you mentioned, SAS creating a team and, moving from playing with Garfield to playing for my own school was such a cool and unique opportunity. And in terms of leadership, it's, I think it's a great experience for me. And, being a captain, whatever, being a leader is definitely the type of person and, ball player I want to be as I move up through baseball. So that's been really important for me. Going back to the winter, me and the other captains made sure we led team practices, captains practices every week, going back to October. And making sure that, we were a tight-knit group as a team and that we were all ready to go when springtime rolled around.
Yeah, and seems like the work has really showed off. Specifically on yourself, what sort of work did you put in over the winter to get yourself ready?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff I usually do. But a couple of changes I made this year is I started working with the new strength coach. They're out of Portland, Oregon area. So I do remote training with them, which has been awesome. I'll go down and reassess every month or so, and then they'll send me a program for the next month. And that was a lot more personalized than a lot of the old lifting stuff I did. In the past, I would do more bodybuilder stuff where it's bench press and deadlift and squats, and all that stuff is great and all. But as I moved up, it's been more important to do more personalized and baseball specific stuff. So it's been a lot more rotational stuff and addressing my weaknesses in mobility and strength. And I think that's helped me really take the next step.
Yeah, through that system, that makes a lot of sense. What do you think you've learned about yourself in the way your body operates and sort of how you need to prepare in an off season specifically?
Yeah. So when I went down there first and we did a big mobility assessment, and one of my big deficiencies was hip internal rotation. And then that's been something I just attacked all winter long. So a lot of mobility doing that. And, it's still a work in progress, but I definitely have been able to see a lot of results as well. And it's come a long way. And for me, being able to clean up some of that mobility stuff has been able to let me move better down the mound pitching in a sense where it's I can be a little bit more efficient and get a little more velocity out of my frame.
Yeah, that makes sense. Moving sort of into the season specifically, I'm sure the workout program looks different, of course, with your start days pretty much always falling on Mondays. How have you sort of worked differently in the season, and how do you work around making adjustments during the season?
Yeah, that's really tough for sure. I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of baseball players face is being able to keep a lot of consistent routines throughout the season, just with all the variability and, with game days and everything. For me, the way I've been attacking it is like, if Monday's my start day, I'm getting a recovery lift and doing arm care and mobility on Tuesdays. And then Wednesday is usually another game day. So I get like a midweek lift on Thursday. Friday is another game day, and that's also my bullpen day. So that's like, for me, that's the day I'm going to try to make the most adjustments with, is like, if on the Monday start, I didn't have a good feel over my slider or my fastball command wasn't great, then that's really what I'm going to attack during my bullpen on Friday. And then Saturday is going to be like a primer lift to get my body ready for Monday. And then Sunday is another like mobility, roll out my body, recovery type of day, just making sure I'm ready to go on Monday.
And then when we get to Monday, what does a Monday look like for you pregame?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have school throughout the day, but then try to show up at the field like an hour and a half, hour 15 before first pitch, and then, roll out a little soft tissue, whatever it may be, for a few minutes. And then an hour before the game, that's when I really start my routine. So, I go through a quick like static and then dynamic warm up. And then 35 minutes before first pitch usually is when I start doing my arm stuff. So I do bands, I do plow balls, and then get into long toss, and then 15 minutes pregame. I go down to the bullpen and get that in and sit for a couple minutes and get ready to go compete.
Yeah. We talked beginning in November in 2024, last time you were on the podcast. And you mentioned, I think, a longer routine on start days. I think you mentioned specifically like an hour and a half before. How has that sort of shifted over your junior and senior seasons?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it stayed the same, but yeah, I think I have shortened it a little bit. And I think a lot of that was just knowing my body a little better than I have in the past, in the sense of like, I didn't need to be doing some of the stuff that I was. And sometimes I would like walk into the first inning, maybe a little tired or maybe a little too amped up, whatever it may be on that given day. And for me, it's just been learning to adjust to my body and learning myself better, where it's like, I can go into that first inning just calm, but ready to compete right out the gate. And I have, a full tank of energy.
Yeah. You mentioned sort of figuring out sort of who you are on the mound. When you think about yourself as a pitcher, starting pitcher, how do you think of yourself as a player?
Yeah. The way I see myself is like a very complete starting pitcher. Like, a lot of kids in my grade are throwing 97, 98 these days, which is insane. And that's great for them. And right now, that's just not who I am. So for me, I have to look at it in the sense of being a very like complete, well-rounded starting pitcher. So I try to be a really good athlete, have good command over all my pitches. So, I throw 5 pitches and I try to throw them all for strikes and have the ability to go to all of them in any count. And then, I'm working on the velocity. It's, slowly ticking up now into like low mid 90s, which is great. But just, do all that stuff. And then on top of all that, the most important thing I think is just be a good teammate and be a good leader.
Yeah. You mentioned not having the same velocity as some of the, ridiculous velocity arms. Do you think that that's been advantageous for you sort of in your development as a pitcher?
Yeah. I mean, definitely I'd love to tick up more and more in velocity. I think, in terms of like arm health, it's just not something I'm going to like stress over right now, especially as an 18-year-old. Like, I know I'm still going to have the ability to grow more into my frame, put on more strength, more weight, and just trust that it develops. And, that's not something I'm going to try to like chase after. I'm not going to try to chase after the next 2 miles an hour at the risk of my own arm health, just with how much like surgeries and arm injuries have been going up recently.
Yeah, I mean, you see them all over baseball, injuries specifically to the arm, like you mentioned, and starting out at younger ages. When you think about your arsenal, obviously, like you said, 5 pitches. Last time we talked, you were working on a sinker and a cutter. How has your arsenal grown, and what do you like about the way your arsenal is right now?
Yeah, you just hit on it. So, I mean, last time I was on the podcast, I had 3, and I was working on the sinker and cutter, and that makes the 5 that I have now, along with the 4-seamer, slider, and changeup. And what I like right now is just being able to have 3 different fastball variations. That's honestly my favorite thing, is just I'm able to attack over the plate with fastballs, but the hitter doesn't know what type of fastball it may be, whether it's going to, break into their hands or away from them. that's something I can just really like lean on, I think, and it's going to help me as I go up in baseball.
Yeah. How have you seen the results really shift since you were able to add those two variations?
Yeah. The biggest thing for me this year is I've been able to be a lot more efficient pitching. So like last year, a lot of the times I'd be bounced after like 5 innings because my pitch count would be too high. And I know a lot of that was, chasing strikeouts and stuff. And I've been able to cut down on the walks a lot this year. But I think having those 3 fastball variations has been crucial in helping me get weak contact. So I've been able to get, weak outs early and at bats. And that's allowed me to go complete games in pretty much all my starts since the start of April. And, that's been huge for me and my team.
Yeah, we love to hear it. In season wise, adjustments, have you made any adjustments? Sort of, how does that process sort of work for you?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely like something I make small adjustments every week. It's kind of something you just have to do in the middle of the season to stay on top of your game. Recently, like in this last week, I was really missing like high and arm side with my fastball. So I talked to my pitching coach and, we kind of came to the conclusion that my body was kind of rushing down the mound before my arm. So my arm was late. So the fix for that was being a little bit more patient, moving down the mound to allow my arm time to be on time and catch up to, to fill up the zone better and have better command over it. So that was just, that was something I worked on in catch play a lot over the last week. And I'm already feeling a lot better with the way I'm moving.
Awesome. Always a difficult thing to make those in-season adjustments. Don't really have the time, especially for yourself as a two-way player, hitting and pitching. At the plate, what do you think you can learn about yourself as a pitcher, learn about how you can pitch better from you hitting as well?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that like I've been able to pick up on as a hitter, and then also when I used to catch, was just sequencing. Like for example, like last night in our game, like I was facing this right-handed pitcher. He was kind of a funky guy, like low slot, and he went like slider away in like a 2-2 count or 1-2 count for a ball. And I took it, but it was a tough take. And then the next pitch, he came back with a good 2-seam, like right on the outside edge. And he got me looking. And I think that, that stuff that I can always learn from is like the way hitters see the ball is important to know as a pitcher, where it's like you can learn to lead a hitter one way and then come back and freeze them with another pitch just on the tunneling.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm watching a game, watching a guy like George Kirby freeze someone with a 2-seamer is always such an amazing feeling. It's so fun to watch. As a pitcher, how do you balance sort of, freezing guys, chasing, whiff and chase, and versus getting that weak contact that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, I think for me, like my goal is to be a starting pitcher as I go up in baseball through the levels. So the most important thing is just to get, weak contact. Something I've been trying to get better at is like getting guys on or out in 3. So I have shorter at bats. So I, like last year I kind of got caught up too much in trying to get like the chase, and I had really good strikeout numbers and that was great, but I wasn't able to go deep into games. So for me, I'm just really trying to attack the zone and make quality pitches. And, I'm not afraid of giving up contact to guys. And if I get into a 2-strike count, 0-2, then we'll see what I can finish them with. But just trying to be aggressive over the plate for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we can hear the growth and evolution sort of yourself as a pitcher. Off the field, how do you see yourself as a teammate, as a person, as a leader, stuff like that?
Yeah, I really just try to be the best teammate in person I can possibly be. Something, I've been working on a lot recently is just trying to not take anything for granted. I mean, like given that playoffs are starting now, I'm only guaranteed 2 more games of high school baseball in my career. And, it's crazy how things can just really like fly by, and so many of the things that we have in our life on a day-to-day basis can be gone the next. So I've been really trying to like slow down and really be grateful for all the amazing blessings I have in my life and just, not take anything for granted.
Yeah, love to hear it. Last couple of questions. First, where does your love of baseball come from? How do you continue to stay motivated when you're playing baseball 7 days a week?
Yeah, it really comes from like myself as a little kid. I've dreamed of being a big leaguer since like for as long as I can remember, pretty much. And yeah, one of my home screens on my phone is like a drawing I made as a first grader or kindergartner or something, saying like Eli Herst first round draft pick. And that's, I think looking at that is just like it really brings me back, and it helps center me really in the sense of like baseball has been what I've wanted to do for my entire life. And all the training I do and all that stuff on a day-to-day basis, it's really for that little version of myself, and it's for my the version of myself today as well that has the same goals and aspirations. And then on top of that, it's just like for my family. They've both my parents and my brother have been there for me every single step of the way, with the most unconditional love and support ever. So I'm doing it for them and I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah. As you get closer, hopefully, to reaching those dreams, how do you think you can continue to grow as a player and a person?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for growth for sure. Just continuing to train and grind it out, and continuing to learn about myself on and off the field. Something I've been doing a lot recently is journaling. Definitely like going through things in my life, and like we all do, like challenges, and just writing it down. And, I think that's really helped me learn about myself on and off the field. And I think that's been huge in my growth as a person and as a player, where it's like I can learn from past mistakes I've made or from, past experiences.
Awesome. All right. Last question. ABS challenge system has been introduced in Major League Baseball this year. From a fan perspective, from a player perspective, both as a hitter and a pitcher, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I kind of like it actually, because I like the way it is right now, because I feel like it's not taking away from the game as much as it could have, where it's like I wouldn't like a system where every single pitch is called by the robot umpire, because I do think like framing as a catcher is part of the game, and it'd be a shame to take that away. And I think, the umpires are also an important part of the game. But I like the way it is where each team is granted 2 challenges. And if you get them right, you get it back. And I think that allows for situations where it's like if there's a 3-2 pitch on the borderline, we don't have a bad call changing the course of a game or even a season if it happens in the playoffs. So it's like I like the limited aspect of it that's not like overtaking the game, but it can help correct some things.
Yeah. All right. One last fun question. You talked about baseball, of course, as a game. We've all played it since we were kids. We've all loved it since we were kids. I think about my favorite baseball memories as a Mariners fan being last, postseason run, from the Geno homer to the Polanco walk-off. Whether it's a game you played in or a game you watched, what's your favorite baseball memory?
Favorite baseball memory? Honestly, like you kind of just pointed one of them out. Last year, I went with my dad like last minute to Game 5 of the ALDS, and I am so glad that I that I went over and talked to him, and I asked him if he wanted to get tickets and go day of, because that was just unbelievable. I mean, 15 innings and the Polanco walk-off. I think that's just like I was there for that. I was also there for the Cal walk-off home run against the A's that sent us to the playoffs in 22. And like both of those moments are just like, those are things I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, even though I wasn't on the field for those. Those are definitely some of my favorite baseball memories.
Chills just remembering both of those moments. Those are moments you'll never forget where you are.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me, Eli. It's been a blast to have you. Anything you want to say to close it out?
No, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eli. First and foremost, I just want to thank Eli Herst for joining me on this episode. It was a blast to have him. I hope you all enjoyed that. And if you did, it's something that I would love to do more often in terms of getting guests and specifically getting, younger players that sort of can share their story of, why they love baseball, how they sort of get to the place that they are today, all of that sort of stuff. I find it fascinating to learn about all these guys. So I hope that you all enjoyed it. And to close out this episode 151 of the Light the W podcast, I just want to do, our 3 normal segments that are becoming a thing here on our Wednesday morning episodes. So let's start with...
This is Around the Horn. 4 updates on Major League Baseball over the past week.
Okay. Let's go around the horn, shall we? Let's start with the Detroit Tigers because, oh boy, they have been the discussion of some stuff as of late. Tigers 18-19 now on their season. AL Central all below 500. That's incredible. The AL is wide open. But just earlier tonight, I'm still recording this Tuesday evening. Framber Valdez, you scumbag. You scumbag, Framber. What are we doing, dude? You just became the top starter for this team, and that's what you do? You throw at a dude's head? Come on, man. I mean, even AJ Hinch couldn't say it wasn't on purpose. That's your own manager. He's about to send you to the IL himself. Ghost IL. I mean, I feel bad for Tigers fans because they got that bum. Tarek Skubal's now out indefinitely. He'll probably be back late in the season, but I mean, they're scuffling 4-6 over their last 10 games, including 2 straight losses. I feel for them. I do. I really do. Jeff's not the biggest fan, and I'm excited to hear what Jeff says on Friday morning's episode because, he's had some feelings about Framber Valdez for those of you who listened back during the off season. So, it's funny to see what's going on there. Outside of that, I mean, Boston continues to scuffle. They've done a little bit better as of late, 6-4 in their last 10, but they're still 15-21 in the cellar of that division that it has a lot of good teams. I mean, the Blue Jays have picked up form a little bit, but they're 9 games back of the New York Yankees, who are in first place at 25-11. And, the Yankees are winning. The Yankees are winning. The Yankees are winning. John Sterling, rest in peace. As a broadcaster myself, I got a lot of respect for that guy. American League West, I mean, we understand what's going on here. Carlos Correa apparently has a significant ankle injury to his left ankle. It's unfortunate. You never want to see good players, of course, get hurt. Even as a Mariners fan, I can say that Carlos Correa is a good player. National League wise, I mean, Atlanta Braves continue to thrive. Padres, Dodgers knotted up very tight, half game between those two teams at the top of the NL West, and still in the NL Central. All teams above 500. That's a great division. Imagine if one of those teams was in the AL Central, how things would be different. Oh, how things would be different. Jackson Chourio just got back for the Brewers, so they get one of their big guys back. Good for them. But there's a lot going on in baseball. I mean, it's baseball. There's always a lot of stuff going on in baseball. And ultimately, I think that's why a lot of us love this game, right? That's why we all love it. Let's get back into some Mariners baseball, though. And it's time for...
Welcome to Down on the Farm, your weekly segment talking about the Mariners farm system over the past week.
Thank you, Mahal and Rooster. Seattle Mariners farm system. I mean, where's there to start other than the man, the myth, the legend, Kate Anderson? I mean, I feel like we're going to be saying the same names here over and over and over again. Because, I mean, God, what a freaking stud. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs, 8 strikeouts, no walks, 74 pitches. That workload's getting up there. Once you start to see him throw 80, 90 pitches, that's when we can start having that discussion. Once you start seeing him go 6, 7 innings, Not on purpose, y'all. Not on purpose. We can start having that discussion of, is it time for him to get called to the bigs? And look, there's a logjam of starting pitching for the Mariners right now, but, you can transition a guy to the bullpen. Bullpen really needs some help right now. Andres Munoz blew another save tonight as the Mariners just continue not to get good enough output from their bullpen. And Cade Anderson has just been unbelievable. Just 1 run allowed in 24 and a third innings pitched to begin his professional career. That's an ERA under 0.40. Unbelievable. 38 Ks to 4 walks. Just 13 hits allowed. Credit to him. I want to talk about Nick Becker because, he's going to be something that's going to be really fun to watch. He's in the Arizona Complex League right now. He had 4 stolen bases through 5 innings a couple nights ago. Athletic who? Oh my God. Athletic who? And finally, is there anywhere else to talk about? Of course I could talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Luke future MVP Stevenson. Talk about Felnine Celestine, who's now at a 12-game hit streak. But there's only one guy to talk about. It's Lazaro Montes. Wow. What a weekend for that kid. Oh my God. Another good day today. He went 2 for 4 today. Couple of RBIs, a stolen base. Oh my God. Brendan Donovan had a rehab there tonight. He's probably going to come back and be like, yo, that Lazaro Montes kid, he's kind of fun to watch, right? He literally stole third base. He had an infield single tonight. Had 3 homers, 8 RBIs a couple days ago. Power. Easy power. He's a stud. This Mariners team, man. This Mariners farm system's a lot of fun to watch. Mason Peters is another guy that I've been wanting to talk about now for 2 weeks, and it's just there's other guys to talk about that are doing special things down on the farm. So we'll see. Maybe Mason Peters will get a mention next week as we continue on to our third and final segment of this episode. It is time for Seattle Sports Wraparound with Mahal. Thank you, Mahal, again. You did a great job on all of these intros. Oh, thanks. I appreciate the praise. Seattle Sports Wraparound. Seattle Kraken didn't do great in the draft lottery tonight. For a second, I was like, oh, maybe they're going to get the first overall pick. No, they dropped down a spot. They're at 7th instead of 6th. We'll see what they can do. I have no words really for the Seattle Kraken. I'm watching the Stanley Cup playoffs and I'm just like, I wish we had a good hockey team. I'm down here in Anaheim and it's like, there's Ducks flags on like every car I see right now. Every car. It's incredible. It's really incredible the way a fan base can rally around and, seeing Ducks do what they're doing. I'm like, dang, if only the Angels were good, they could maybe actually have a fan base and they get crowds. I was at Angel Stadium on Saturday night and they got a decent crowd. They got a pretty good crowd, actually, especially for a game against the New York Mets what are the New York Mets this year? Are they really from New York? They're practically the Syracuse Mets this year. Like practically. Is there a difference? Syracuse Mets, New York Mets, same team? I'm going to start the trend here. We're going to start it here. You heard it here first. Seattle Sounders drew 1-1 with Kansas City over the weekend. I believe they returned this weekend again. Not a whole lot of updates in terms of the Seahawks. Rookie minicamp this week. What can you learn from rookie minicamp? Not going to lie. I'm really excited to see what the Seahawks bring on Hard Knocks, though. I think that's going to be something really fun to watch. With all that said, that is finally going to do it on this episode of the Light the W podcast. For those of you who are first-time listeners, make sure you leave a 5-star review, follow, like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. And leave a comment down below if you want to see more interviews like we had with Eli today, or give me your favorite stat about the Mariners farm system as of late. If you made it this far, make sure you follow all the social media platforms. Thank you for listening. Till next time, go M's. Peace.